Hey guys, what's going on? It's Don here from Novaspirit Tech and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be taking a look at the Wimaxit 8-inch monitor for the Raspberry Pi. So let's get started. Now before we begin, I do want to thank Wimaxit for sending this monitor over to me. And I got to be honest with you guys, originally I wasn't planning to review it because I've seen a lot of these tiny monitors where the specs are just ridiculously low. So I don't tend to really review small monitors. I actually bought a bunch of these little guys before, but this actually changed my mind when I saw the specs. This is an IPS display at a resolution of 1280 by 800, which has a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. That didn't surprise me yet, even though it's got pretty good resolution compared to, like I said, these guys, which is like a 1024 by 600. It's also powered by a micro USB cable. Now, what surprised me the most, the brightness is rated at 400 nit, which is really bright compared to any type of these little tiny monitors you've ever seen. And it's actually brighter than some laptops. That's how bright this guy is. Now, if you could see it right now, this is at half brightness. So in full brightness, it's actually really bright, which I'll be showing you guys in a little bit. Another thing is, this is a proper monitor. It has all the functions in the back, so you could change the color range, you could change the brightness, contrast, stuff like that. So it is an actual proper monitor with audio jack out, just in case you have a HDMI audio going in. Now, originally, this is designed for the Raspberry Pi, so it does have mounting holes for the Raspberry Pi, and it comes with this special cable that you can hook up the Raspberry Pi 3 to. But since, again, it's an HDMI input, you could plug in any device like a Raspberry Pi 4 or use it as a secondary monitor. Now, the best part about this is that this monitor only costs $69. And on top of that, if you guys are interested, they're offering a 10% off up until September. So if you guys are interested, everything will be linked down in the description below. Looking at the back of this guy, you can see, again, the mounting bracket for the Raspberry Pi. It has the micro USB jack for the power, the HDMI, another micro USB, but I don't exactly know what that is for. And then you have a series of buttons that you could actually operate the monitor with: volume up, volume down, or change the settings, whatnot. This whole thing is housed in acrylic plastic laser cut. So if you have your own laser cutter, you could probably make your own frame for this. So let's check it out. All right, so here I have it actually set up with my Odyssey X86 hooked up to a monitor. Because it's HDMI, I could hook it up to anything. But I did wanted to do this setup is because of this USB power gauge, so you can see how much power it's drawing at the time when this is on. So let me zoom in to show you guys what I'm talking about. And as you can see, just at idle, displaying the screen, it's running around 4.9 volts at 0.7 amps, which is good enough for, like I said, a USB. Right now it's just plugged into the USB. Now, as far as the Raspberry Pi, I believe on the Raspberry Pi 3, it could deliver enough power to power this guy. On the Raspberry Pi 4, I'm not too sure because they've been playing around with some settings, but it works perfectly fine on this computer. And as you can see, if I was to pop up anything, it's still around 700. The only time that this goes up to amperage is when you do the brightness. So let me show you guys a little bit of the settings. This way you guys can know what I'm talking about. All right, so let me show you guys on the menu itself. It's in the back. I'm just playing around with the buttons. There is color, and you see my brightness is only at 50. That means this thing is really, really bright. Picture, you got ODS menu, so you can change the position of this menu. Miscellaneous for whatever input you're going to be putting in. Right now it's got HDMI only, but I think there are pinouts for VGA. And if I head back over to color and I select this, go down, brightness, and adjust this up, you can see how much brighter it's getting. But it's also bringing up the amperage. You see it's going up to 0.8 right now. Let me zoom in a little bit and show you guys. 0.8 at max brightness. But with max brightness, it's very, very viewable in this bright room right now. Even half brightness, it was very viewable. Let me adjust this back down to, I can set the volume. Adjust this back down to half brightness where we are at before. You could also set up the color temperatures and everything, as you can see on the screen. And here we go. Now, since this is an IPS monitor, you could see that at every viewing angle, you could still see the display and you see what's going on up or down. It's really, really good. For a display at this price range, this is really a good deal. Now, if I'm going to watch a video or something like that, let's full screen this. It runs really well. It is at 60 Hertz, so you're just going to get 60 FPS. Now, what's cool about this is if I was to, let me close this out. Actually, let me just pause this. But if I was to actually go into the display and go into settings, This has the option, or the not option, it has the ability to actually scale your resolution. So this is at 1280 by 800, which is a 16:10 ratio resolution. Now, if I go over to display and monitor, you can see that I actually have more selection because this actually allows for 1920 by 1080 input. And what it'll do is, as soon as I change that input, it will scale down the screen so it will fit this, or scale down the resolution so it will fit the screen. So here we go. If I go 1920 by 1080, it's going to look a little bit weird because it's trying to compress the image itself, but it runs. Even though it's scaled, you could see I could still read everything. Let me zoom in a little bit more, but you could still read everything at a 1080 resolution scaled. So I'm able to watch 1080 video in this viewing angle, and I wouldn't have any problems. And to be honest, I actually don't really use this for the Raspberry Pi. I am using this for a secondary monitor along my 34-inch ultra wide, so I have a little tiny monitor so I could watch videos with, and since it's bright enough, it's actually very, very good at multimedia. Now switching back out to the display to what we were talking about before, which is the 1280 by 800, comes back to what we were at before, and yeah, that's how it is, just to switch it back and forth and it'll work. So I've been using this monitor for the past week, and I love it as a secondary monitor to my ultra wide screen on my main office, as a multimedia extension, you could say. Like, I just plug my YouTube over here, or I actually watch movies, videos, and stuff like that. So I love it as a secondary monitor for my big screen, because now I'm only using one screen, and that little monitor helps a lot. On top of which, if I'm working on little projects on the Raspberry Pi or something else, I just hook it up to this little guy and it works. Along with being able to scale any resolution, I could test certain things like 1080 on this guy, even though it doesn't have a 1080 screen. To be honest, I really think this is a really good buy for the price what you get. And I bought these types of monitors, these 5-inch things, for just about the same price back in the day. So yeah, this is a really good buy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please hit that like button. If you guys got any questions about this, hit it down in the comments below. If you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Also hit that bell notification icon so you know when the next video is going to be out. And as I say in my nerd cave, hack till it hurts.